Hello, my name is Eva Krijnen. I have been working with horses since I was 16, and today I would like to show you how I groom Supremo, a 6-year-old dressage horse from Sördonnahall. For this, I use the new cordless clipper from Esculap, the Econom CL Equipe. I'd like to show you different techniques and grooming patterns respectively you could use as a casual rider if you don't want to groom your horse completely but only partially, or for the professional rider who grooms his horse completely. I put everything I need in place. I always take a towel, a scrubbing brush, the oiler for the clipper for a continuous workflow, so I don't need to do a lot of running about. And there we go. For activating the clipper, I just push this button at the back, and now the clipper is ready. To start, I simply push the start button, and there it goes. I apply a drop of oil. Horses are flight animals you always have to work very carefully with and not just jump to it. Especially younger horses are very often afraid of the clipper or the noise. So you have to start gently and have an eye on the horse. Supremo, of course, is familiar with grooming. He is already 6 and gets groomed every winter. When it comes to young horses, a second person should assist you and stand near the head, calming the horse, and then everything should be fine. Now I start with the grooming of a horse for casual riders who would like to ride, for example, in the forest. The fur is often quite long, and casual riders usually don't have the time to wait in the stable until the horse is dry. That means we start up here, draw a line, but leave the back covered with coat for keeping the kidneys warm, so the horse doesn't cool down but nevertheless can sweat properly without being wet for a long time. I always groom against the grain or slightly offset. If there is still hair, I just change the angle a bit and do it again to get a nice smooth result. At spots like the shoulder, you should try to push the skin this way and not go too deep into the hollow. The result will be stripes and the horse feels uncomfortable as well. At spots with lots of muscles, you can just pull through and then you work more efficiently. I just got a light cooler because Supremo is bothered about the flies and then wriggles. Now I show you how to groom the leg and back here and what line you should draw for a nice result which serves the purpose. Here at the front, you always have to be careful. The skin is very soft, so you have to pull the skin accordingly for not cutting or hurting the horse. You can just take the muscle as a reference line. Horses always have a big whirl, so you have to groom against the grain again, starting from top and maybe begin this way. Always try different angles. In between, I brush the clipper to remove the loose hair and apply a drop of oil onto it. At the throat, you again have to be careful. The skin is very soft here, but elastic as well, so we can pull it straight very nicely. As you can see, the big clipper grooms very nicely, but if you have a smaller model, preferably an Esculap model, you can do it even nicer, for you reach the little corners and edges more easily. Up here, I just take the headline. Again, pull. There should be no pressure later on where the harness is. 1 to 2 inches is enough. Many horses don't like it at all to be groomed at the head, so you maybe just leave it out completely, but Supremo is quite relaxed, he even likes it. He lowers the head and just enjoys it. Now I rework this line again for a nice finish. Now we have a neat finish here. The front part is ready now. We have a neat thigh section. Now we'll create the top line. And I'll show you some tips and tricks how to do this part nicely, as well as here at the girth area. Here at the front, the skin is again very soft, so the risk of injuries is relatively high if you are not careful or inattentive. Supremo behaves very well, so I can grab here to pull the fur. For this area I have a trick. I just take the forefoot and pull it a bit forward. This way we have the skin pulled and tightened. Gently does it. Groom the thin hair at this spot. I sometimes step back from the horse for 1 to 2 meters to look if maybe I have forgotten a spot, which you can't see when you stand very closely. You just step back to have a better view. Now I formed a nice top line here to this point to have it straight. If the coat grows into the other direction, just do it this way to get a neat result. Now we continue at the back. Now we finish the casual look. All areas which sweat very easily have been groomed: neck, flank and the back. We left out the area around the kidneys for protecting them. We managed to groom a reasonably nice line, so now you can ride without having to take a cooler with you. The next step will be to groom relatively sensitive horses who are afraid of being touched at the legs. We will leave out the saddle area, the legs and the head. And we will groom the remainder. With this style, we approach the mane a bit more accurately and try to exactly meet the spot between mane and coat. For this, you can grab a small strand, pull it over here and see where the hairline is. Now he clowns about a bit with the other horse here, so I'll get my assistant to detach him and hold him in order not to cut the mane. Here you can see the coat not growing in this direction but a bit to the top. I can take the clipper and groom carefully from top to bottom. Be careful, do not cut the mane. Better, start a bit deeper instead of too high. Here at the back, be a bit careful, for some horses don't like it here between the hind legs. Just put the tail aside, usually there is not so much hair. At this cut, I groom the top completely, so we have to make sure to have a nice transition at the base of the tail. That means not to have an edge here. We just groom a small triangle. This area is done. Now we have to see what kind of horse it is. This is a dressage horse, which is saddled a bit further to the back. Just think about where the edge of the saddle is, about here. So we will groom up to this point and leave a nice saddle line. If you don't know how far to groom, just take an ordinary saddle blanket and put it just the way you would saddle your horse. This is about the right position. When it comes to show jumpers who are saddled considerably more in the front, just put it a bit further to the front. Now we already have a nice line here, but it's still a bit wide. Therefore, I just groom a bit more down here. I just chamfered the edge here a bit for a nicer look. For the sports horse, we groom the legs and the head as well, just leave out the saddle area. Legs and head are the most sensible parts of the horse, so we do gently there. We start at the top and work further down. Here at the leg, again pull the skin as far as possible. To groom the lower part of the leg, I just take the foot, which he does voluntarily here. I can groom the inner part at the same time once the skin is pulled up. Now put it down again. This leg is nearly done from this side here. At this spot here, with all the tendons, it's a bit tricky. Try carefully to pull the skin a bit. At the legs, only work without pressure. The skin is again very thin here. You can try to pull the skin back and forth here. At the same time, we can start grooming the inner side of the other leg. Always have one hand at the horse when you groom the legs, so you can feel in advance when he wants to kick or wriggle. It's quite practical to cross the legs, so you can already groom the lower part of the inner side. This horse is able to, others may not. To groom the hind legs, it can be quite useful to make a knot into the tail. I don't know how he will react now because of all the flies, but let's give it a try. When grooming the inner side of the hind legs, you have to be careful, for they are highly sensitive here. Especially stallions are a bit afraid of their balls. We can try it, of course, very gently with the hind legs as well as with the forelegs to groom the lower part. Supremo doesn't like it so much at the hind legs, so we will continue with a small clipper. And the head will be next. We start with the big clipper. In general, you can do the complete horse with the big one, but when you have a highly sensitive horse, you can do it with the small one as well. Well, he doesn't like it that much. Now we continue here, just pull the skin a bit, it's very thin. Now the ear, carefully from the outside. It's best to grab the tip again against the grain. You can fold over the tip a bit if he lets you do so, and grab it with your hand. Some horses don't like it at all. It's fine by Supremo though. just pull it to the back and groom the front. When it comes to the inner part, just look if there are hairs sticking out. Just groom the hair in a way that it won't stick out and not deeper. The hair inside is for a special function which we don't want to affect. He already had it groomed before, it looks nice, and we will leave it this way. We only did the outside of the ear. When I want to groom over the eye, I gently keep it shut with my thumb, so when he is flinching, I won't hurt him. He is not quite comfortable with it. At the eye, grooming is always a bit tricky. The older the horse gets, the deeper this pit is. Again, we try to pull the skin a bit here to get inside. It's easier and nicer with a small clipper. This is just to show you that it also works with a big one. Now I'm going to show you how you can do the head with a small clipper. There are some longer hairs at the eyes and the snout. Please don't cut them. That's very important. They have their function. They have to remain there. So Primo now is completely groomed. He looks a bit grey right now, but that's quite normal. It's the dust on his skin. I'm going to wash him and present him again. At the end of the day, I can say that I'm really pleased with the clipper. A great advantage, of course, is that you don't have a cable laying around and you don't have to look out that the horse steps on it or is afraid of it. I like that, and it's not heavier than a normal clipper. You get a nice result just like I want to have, and I'm really pleased.